Alrighty. Welcome back to Super Sentai Review, episode 131. Now, like the case camera review, now this is the day after you're probably seeing this on Sunday when this video goes up because I don't have Wi-Fi here. So, yesterday, on the 15th, I discussed Kamen Rider. Now I'm on Super Sentai. I am basically discussing the 37th ever Super Sentai Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. Released back in 2009. Actually, I think it was like 2000 this was. Excuse me. I like past ones I discussed for the first video of these. These are just a few episodes. This one's discussing the first 9 episodes. 9. Now, the thing with Shinkenger is, and its Power Ranger adaptation, where the Power Ranger adaptation is notorious for, get this, like, I've heard this particular Power Ranger season was basically known for copying and pasting, like, there's an allegation out there about Power Ranger Samurai where Jonathan Zacher, the guy who was showrunner at that point, took the script of the first episode of this show and put it to Google Translate and made that the first episode of the Power Ranger Samurai. Well, not one that aired per se because they started with technically the third episode. The first episode basically, now the two-part origin story, which is basically the first episode we have here. We're introduced this up with they call them the cursed ones. And the cursed ones are the Dodge shoe. That's what they refer to as in the Sentai footage. In Power Rangers, they're the Nihilocks. Yes, they are the Nihilocks. And it's pretty much the same thing you heard in Power Rangers. Nothing much difference here. A group of samurai rises up, basically take on these guys, and battles them over the course of a couple hundred years. Cut to present day, we see these features come through cracks, various other things, come through a kid, and you have G, which by the way is not Mentor G. Now, this character is slightly different than he is in the Power Rangers one. Power Rangers, he's definitely the Mentor, though he gives somewhat really bad advice. This guy clearly is basically there as a retainer because basically Japanese style culture from the feudal era. And also there's more people here than there was in Power Rangers. Take for example the Gamaru. The Gamaru are simply put the servants of the Shinobi house, which basically the same house they had, same name as in Power Rangers. Except that the guy is Japanese compared to Power Rangers, where he's clearly a white guy who's clearly a New Zealand actor who's actually white, and the Blue Ranger is black. Yep, they do change They do change the Blue Ranger's profession. There's a difference between the two in both the Sentai and Power Rangers for the Blue Ranger. Well, let's start with the Red Ranger, for example. Him, not really a big difference per se. He's somewhat a little more arrogant. I would say the actor who plays him in Samurai, it plays a tiny bit more emotion than the guy who plays him in Shinkenger. He's clearly a lord. He doesn't dress in like traditional lord garb, and he has more servants around him, give him tea or whatever. Like with the period piece, he's always called Lord. And unlike in Power Rangers, referred to by his first name, by Mentor G, in the case of this one, the G is just basically a retainer who's basically there just to serve alongside him. He gives advice whenever it's needed. Mostly put, he's there to be the chief retainer. That's basically put his job. Now, as for the Rangers themselves, the rest of the Shinkenger, the blue one, they did change this one because in the Samurai, he's a kabuki actor. Compared to Power Rangers, he's a professional swimmer. In the case of the green one, which is basically the green Shinkenger, he's exactly the same as he is in Power Rangers. He's basically a rebel, goes to arcades. Yeah, not much difference between the two of them here. The pink one, daycare worker, both. The yellow one, country girl, and that's it. There's not much difference between them at all. It's like the only one they bothered to change is the Blue Ranger. Probably because the reason why they did that is because he's the color blue. And that does come to play in one of the episodes here. It was... It's not that one. Okay, I think it was in Merlin Fishing, I believe it is. Yes. This one is, well, in Power Rangers is not much difference except that the reason why that the blue Shuriken was out there was different compared to the one in Power Rangers because this whole thing is blue is aqua stuff. Compared to here, the reason why we was sent there was because the red Shurikenger, trust him, he's basically the best person to do the job. Excuse me. Also, he's a bit over the top in Shinkenger, where he basically is like keep calling his the guy in charge Lord, and he's like prostrating himself and basically this stuff way over the top. Compared to the Blue Samurai Ranger, who is nothing like that at all. He is not that over the top. He basically does something similar in the opening episode. Oh, they do change one other thing here. The mode transformation that they use, the translate because in Power Rangers they use regular modern day vehicles, compared to Shuriken they use the old feudal era Japan style taxis. You know, with the two boards, a little cabin. And like in the case of both of them, basically the blue Shurikenger and the blue Samurai Ranger mistake the person inside the cabin as the feudal lord, and also both the Red Ranger basically rides on a horse. The first creature. And of course we use the Origami, which basically are their Zords, obviously, and these things are sentient, which is quite interesting. Now these are not their morphers per se. Oh no. Their morphers are literally put basically like cell phones can also turn to paintbrushes. They have to draw Japanese characters in order to basically transform. Now, the morphing call is called Imperial Report. Now, this is only mentioned only in the first episode that they're approved by the province. Which, okay. Now, why in the world be lords like this in modern day Japan? Probably because this one's necessary. There probably isn't that many lords left. So, they there have to give you a quick change. We're all wearing komodos. Well, basically, they're all dressed like actual samurai in modern day Japan, while now like all the cursed ones are attacking. And then they basically all transform and they juice themselves, which, by the way, in Samurai, they cut this out. Unlike in it's here like every episode. We have to introduce all the Rangers, all by their color and their name. And it's like this all like pretty much like all like 1 or 2 episodes of this batch. And they pretty much dealt with them pretty much very similarly. Now, like in the case of Samurai, the first episode does not have the first appearance of the Megazord. Nope. They actually say that for episode 2. Like in Samurai, did the same exact thing. And of course, did the whole tower thing. Like if you watch the first episode of Samurai, have the guys, characters use their Zords. And they form the big tower, and it topples over. Same thing happens in Power Rangers, here too. And though his basically thing is like, oh, fine, I'll do it. He just does this little thing combined, and now the interior of the Megazord is slightly different. Yes, because I think in the case of this one, this is most for like has like 2 Chinese characters in the background, has their control console. Though I think in the case of Samurai, they have a little more detail in the behind them than is the cockpit of this one. Now, are they standing in Shuriken like they do in Samurai? Yes, they do stand. The consoles remain pretty much the same, except the background changed. That's the only thing that really changed is the background. So, basically, it was a monster that way. Oh, in case you're curious, there was one episode of Samurai that was a monster who called people names, people just fly everywhere, and the elevator just kept collected. Like, is this virtually almost the same episode as in Samurai? Yes, it is literally the same episode. Did they be in the same way? Stuff rocks in the mouth? Yep, same thing. Not much change here with that one. Yep. Now, yes, is there an episode that focuses on the Green Ranger where he's like very rebellious and does mandatory go after him in the Sentai footage? No, not necessarily. That was made up for Power Rangers, where basically talking about him being fired. That is also that Power Rangers adapted to that, but like pretty much almost everything here. So, oh, by the way, the villains themselves, like the way they're introduced here in the first episode, it's like The same exact thing, except the only thing that changed, aside from the fact these three characters are speaking English, is the music. They actually add music to this thing. Yeah, that's the. Oh, they changed the music. That's one of the things they did change here was the music. And there's actually one monster, I think it was the second or third one, I think it was, where a lot of the time, usually it's now they changed the name of the leader of the cursed ones. His name is different. In Power Rangers, it's Malazandrid. In here, I think his name is Dairu. I think his name is. His subordinates are pretty much the same names that they are in Power Rangers. Not really much change there. Dayu, the whole thing with her, where she basically passes a bride, that's carried over too. Oh, in case you're curious though, does the Yellow Ranger's backstory of how she became Yellow Ranger, where she became Red Ranger because her sister was sick? Yeah, they kept that. That basically is also from here too. So it's like you could think of it as like the only character they changed was the Blue Ranger. Yeah, he was practically the only one they changed because everyone else is practically the same, like personality-wise, and very similar. And in case you're curious, though, is Pink Shinkenger, is she just a terrible cook as she is in Samurai? Yes, she is just as bad, if not worse. Yeah, the whole thing about her being homesick. And there's also a kid, basically, where he's similar in one of the episodes. I believe it was one where we're talking about playing secrets, where he basically is tricked by a cursed one thing. Oh, yeah, he's going to revive his dead grandpa. Nope, not really. All he had to do was quit baseball. Yeah, that was really the whole point of it. I think they did. I don't remember they did adapt this one. I do not remember that at all. But it's very similar to that. And also the whole thing with the lie thing. The whole thing with. Now, they mentioned episode 6 when they had the guy who called people names. They mentioned, mentioned the Red Shinkenger, he's a liar. That is actually a hint of something to be explored later on. Yes. Yeah, that's pure setup for what happens later on. Yep, that was simply put the reason for it. Yep. Yeah, the Music King is a name call guy. Bright is the Spirit of the Way. Yeah, very similar episode to this one. I don't remember if they changed who. Now, mostly put, this is a very similar plot as the episode from Power Rangers. Like, very similar plot. Dayu just kidnapped brides, make a wedding dress for herself. Now, in Power Rangers, I think they made a traditional style wedding dress, while in the case of here, it's basically a Japanese kimono. And in case you're curious, though, did the Shinkenger dress up as bride and groom for these weddings? Yep. They do that too. So, you're probably all thinking, Nick, you're talking about something that's very similar happening in Samurai. Well, because it's virtually almost the same plot. Except that some name changes there. Yeah. Was there anything else? Oh, yes. I think they did introduce the... they do... Now, they have 2 new Zords pop up these ones. Yes, new Zords. The first one they use this orange. Yes, they basically explain a very similar backstory about the hidden discs. Some of them were lost over time. So... they mentioned this orange was the only one they had in possession. It was a very powerful one. And thanks to the Red Shinkenger train with thing, this actually was introduced in episode 3. Yes, episode 3 this was introduced in. And he's trained with a lot of the episode using this big, huge weapon. And eventually, he masters this damn thing, also nearly bleeding, which I think they actually didn't have this in Power Rangers at all. Where his fingers are bleeding, his hands are basically so beat up. And eventually, he doesn't able to use the damn thing, and they form a giant weapon. Big canon of the series, where they basically take their discs they have on their samurai swords, put them on top, and they unleash. And of course, they do have the Zord, which is simply a giant. I think it's a rhinoceros speedo. And then when they introduce the fish, I think it was just a few episodes after. I think it was just 2 episodes afterward. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's episode 7. Oh yeah, we'll talk about this one. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there's actually a third one. It's actually sort of a white tiger Zord, which is different than the one seen in Dire Ranger / Smart Ranger Season 2. This one is the feet, where all four legs are basically drills, and they're brought. This particular Zord is brought to them via a monster tamer. Yes, we're gonna have these monster tamer type monsters in here, and of course he's the bad guy of the episode. Like, basically, it seems like this guy's plot is very similar to the one from Ginga Man. It's like, oh, we have a brand new Zord, or at least Zords in case of them, where it basically meant to fight the Rangers, and of course he's brainwashed and his power, and after venting and stuff, and of course to purify, and also we actually the blue Shinkenger where he's basically brainwashed to attack his own lord. Though thanks to a blow dealt to him by the red Shinkenger, he's basically free, no problem. Yep. But these are pretty good episodes. This is something I'm basically just breezing right through because it's very similar footage that I saw in Power Rangers, so it should be pretty simple to go through. I mean, I'm only 9 episodes in, and I only have like 16 episodes left. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. And like in the plot of Power Rangers is the plot of where the cursed one's like, oh, we have to rise the Sentai River in order to conquer the world. Is the same plot as in Power Rangers? Yep, the same exact thing. It appears as though there's a couple monsters who actually are very effective at raising the actual river itself. Yes, a couple of them are. Now there is one monster who's actually sent out. I believe I think it was the Montana. I think it was where he basically strapped himself with the ship. He just begged to go. There's actually a couple monsters that little squid monster. He sent out himself in order to deal with the Rangers. And also we have the debut of the samurai counterpart to Decker from Power Rangers. Yep, we have him show up in. He showed up in Bride Spirited Away. That was the first episode he appeared in. And here, you have a full appearance of him in Tiger Rebellion, where he's wearing this, like, here's the same attire as he is in Power Rangers. All they changed him was his actor. I think they changed his name too. Where, by the way, his sword, same name, Orsamasu, which it looks same look, same sword, not much with him, except the actor is different. Now, in Power Rangers, he's played with the guy who played Cole from Power Rangers Wild Force. Here, I'm not sure who plays him, but you see him in Tiger Rebellion, he's fighting the brainwashed Shuriken Blue, where he's admiring the fact that he does take his training very seriously, and all he's there to do is just basically size him up for a future duel later on, which probably will happen here because they have Power Rangers, so it's probably happen here too. Yep. Not much else to say here. Really good episodes. They're so enjoying it so far. But there is a few episodes I'm very much looking forward to. And that's 20 and 21. Because the crossover Kamen Rider. Yes, I will discuss that later. I want to get to it. Yep. So I should really go through these episodes pretty quickly. And then move on to go back to Kamen Rider for the original for 27 more episodes. Not 39 this time. Oh no. 27. And then I'll have my break. Do my anime. I'm going to say when the anime come out, I will discuss what anime I'm going to discuss. And after I finish up, I'm going to be watching the rest of this. Finish this up. And then, of course, there's some movies afterwards I'm also going to be watching too. Then after that, then I move on to back to Kamen Rider to finish it up. And then after I finish that up, this, of course, I have to read some books. I will then announce, after I finish Shinkenger, what Sentai I do next. I'm not going to say right now what it's going to be because I just started reviewing Shinkenger. Why would I announce basically what I'm viewing next afterwards? It's something that I'm very interested looking forward to talking about as I watch Shinkenger. Now, you're probably curious, though. Why did I choose Shinkenger next? Because I wanted this to review a Sentai that was airing in the 21st century. And this was actually the first Sentai I've watched that come out that actually is a adaptation of Power Ranger season since Go Sager. That was the last one I watched where that was an adaptation of a season that was after Power Rangers? Yes, because mostly put since I brought the Centrifuge back last year, though I think that's a couple years ago. I mostly been reviewing a lot of stuff that was never adapted to Power Rangers. Though one of them was inspired by Power Rangers, yes. Uh, Also, I forgot to mention this when I finished up Jetman. Jetman was my 20th Super Sentai I have reviewed to date. This is actually my 21st. Yes, 21 out of 26. Yes. And yes, I'll be continuing to stand by from this point forward. And also, like in the case of Kamen Rider, I will announce in my last video when I finish discussing the original Kamen Rider what series I'm discussing next. That'll be discussed in that last video when I finish up to talking about the last arc for the original Kamen Rider. You'd probably think it's quite obvious what the next one's going to be, but I'm not going to say what it is right now. But I'll review that a little later on. Yep. But yeah, that's going to be pretty much it for this particular review. Oh, also, another thing before I finish up here, this is also the official 30. Overall, this is the 37th Super Sentai to be aired at this point in time. Yeah, 37? No, I think it's more like, yeah, it's actually not 37. It is 34. Yeah, seriously, it's 34. Mm-hmm. Right? I just want to make sure about that. No, this is actually 33. Yeah, this is actually the 33rd Super Sentai. Mm-hmm. Yep, this is actually the 33rd. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, this is the 33rd Super Sentai, so... So basically, you'll find out more later on. Yeah, it was actually a mistake on my part because it was a typo, but there's that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's definitely going to be it here. I have no other videos planned for tonight. I just want to discuss this one because why not? So tomorrow, these videos will be uploaded, and I'll be discussing 4 straight anime tomorrow. And those 4 anime are going to be One Piece for Revolution, Case Closed, and Baruto. Discuss those 4 in order, along with the news chapter for My Hero Academia, because that was not released last week, so hopefully we can discuss that tomorrow. So, the overall, even though I'll be uploading at least about 7 videos tomorrow, working on those, it'll be just 5 new ones recorded tomorrow, plus this one and the one I talked about yesterday, okay? Next video. Bye.